missed the first 2 days, and I hear that they went great. So it's my loss, but hopefully today and tomorrow will also be very interesting to all of you. Of course, except for this talk, which you may want to skip. But now that you are here, it seems like they are closing the doors also, so it's going to be hard to skip to. Okay, so let me talk about enhancing cybersecurity, and the context here, cybersecurity R&D, the context is the Indian one. So some thoughts on how do we build capacity in this domain. Next. So this is a pretty obligatory slide which shows how cyber attacks are increasing, and these are Indian numbers. We see that number of incidents reported to certain. The first top left one is a global here, but the certain reports the Indian attacks are going up very rapidly. Even more concerning is the type of attacks that are happening. You see the 2 circles on the right. In 2022, just 2 years ago, 3 years ago, most of the attacks were discovery attacks, exploratory, to see how the system is, what all things are there. Within a year, nearly half of these attacks not only became execution, 25% became execution, but even worse is half of them became persistent attacks, these are the most dangerous kind of attacks where a malware sits in a system for an extended period of time, quietly observing, not damaging anything, simply leaking information now and then, and waiting for an opportune time to actually attack the system. Next. And some very well-known examples of cyber attacks. Is it Telega?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. The whole era of cyber attacks started with Stuxnet. I don't need to talk about it enough, as you said. Another very interesting was around similar time as Operation Shady Rat, which essentially pioneered the persistent types of attacks. The APT stand for Advanced Persistent Threat. And they infiltrated a very large number of organizations across the world. Then another very big attack was the Equation Group attack in 2015, where through the supply chain, again, large number of systems were compromised via, you have a CD you put in the mail, so that got intercepted, some malware added to the CD, repackaged and shipped to the origin destination. So through such means, a lot of malware got introduced across multiple entities in multiple countries, and it is strongly suspected that NSA had a role in this. And of course, one of the most famous recent attacks, another supply chain attack, where this pager devices were modified to include an explosive there and remotely derotable. So that was done. And as well as militants by Israel. So that's a kind of attacks that are being executed these days, and their sophistication level is exceptionally high, and it is likely to become even more sophisticated, even more dangerous in times to come. So when it comes to the Indian context, what are we question naturally arises? What are we doing about this? And the answer as of today is not much. Of course, things are much better than they were even 5 years ago. But still, there is a lot of gap. Many of the incidents, one doesn't get to hear about them, but they keep happening. In fact, just 2 days ago, the Chennai port was ransomware, and they're still struggling to recover from it. The reason, some of the reasons at least for this situation is that the solutions that we have today are not good enough. These solutions that we get, the good solutions that exist today are not only proprietary, they are also coming from outside country. They are not our own solutions. And because of this reason, they are not very customizable to our requirements. Also, they are very expensive. Because of that, you can't scale up, you can't have a large setup. Deploying the solutions can become prohibitively expensive. So these are the challenges which makes a lot of people simply not deploy solutions in the way that they should. So what is needed is development of affordable, customizable, and scalable solutions which are strong enough to withstand many uncertainties. So that's a very ambitious goal, of course. The first question when asked when such a challenge arises is, this requires substantial R&D. Are we doing enough of that? So here is a number of articles, Google Scholar data, where you see the number of articles in cybersecurity in India are growing. And even more interesting is this data. You see this, the comparison of cybersecurity related articles, publications across the world. As you would expect, China is number one, that orange line. USA not too far behind, it used to be number one. And India is not doing badly at all. We are number 3 and significantly better than most other countries. So that shows that we are doing plenty of R&D here. That doesn't seem like a problem, but unfortunately it is, because we still are not getting the solutions that we desire, despite doing so much R&D. Why is that? Well, if you look at it closely, one finds that we do very standard boilerplate R&D. There's very simulation-based approach where you pick up one thread and just analyze it, simulate it. These things do not translate well into practical solutions, because in practice, the attacks are very sophisticated, deploying multiple angles of attack. So we also have usually it's considered a nice habit, but in this domain it's not so nice, is whatever we discover, we announce it to the whole world. Look, we have found this, open source it. But that's, in the security domain, that's not always a great idea, because then attackers can adopt to whatever you have found. There is a shortage in cybersecurity, strong cybersecurity talent also. And also, we are a little diffident when it comes to offense. So as everyone knows, if you want to defend well, you need to know how to do offensive acts also. Right? And that's where there is a lack of substantive work in the offensive side. So we need to address these gaps. Some of the key gaps that we should work on, and again, don't go through all technical details. Critical infrastructure are some of the most important setups that we have. I just give you example of the Chennai port. That's a critical infrastructure for the country because the disruption there can have a significant impact in the movement of goods across the country. So there are a number of such critical infrastructure today. All of them are now in some way or the other connected to network, either internet or some local area network, making them susceptible for attacks. And so securing them is very essential. In cryptography, there is ensuring that your data is, when it is stored in a coded fashion so that even if the system is attacked, it doesn't get leaked. There are standard cryptography techniques which, with the advent of quantum computers, have been shown that they will no longer work well. So we now have a quantum resilient cryptography, and that's something we need to work on. There are 3 quantum resilient cryptographic algorithms announced by NIST very recently. And we need to have a strategy to migrate our system to quantum resilient cryptography. Okay, let's skip all that. Then, in the domain of AI and machine learning, there are 2 critical areas from a security perspective. Because everybody is well aware of the impact AI is having in even our day-to-day life. From the cybersecurity perspective, we have 2 aspects. One is the security, ensuring security using machine learning, and second, even more interesting, is security of machine learning. So what do I mean by that? In security, using machine learning is basically using these tools to detect early onset of attacks. Whenever a system is there, you observe its behavior over time. Whenever there is slight anomaly, an AI tool has often the ability to detect it very quickly and flag it. And that's where we can use such tools, especially when there is a huge amount of data in the networks. They're flowing incredible amount of data. Finding anomalous behavior is very challenging. And when it comes to security of AI, that's also very crucial. Today we all use LLMs for a lot of our tasks. Is there any guarantee that the training of these LLMs is perfectly correct? That is, as part of the training data set, some misleading information has not been fed into it, and the LLMs are not trained. Now, many of us these days tend to take answers given by LLM as gospel truth. That would only be if it is only trained on facts. But in fact, we have seen enough examples of that. That's not the case. So these tools, which are getting increasingly powerful today, can also have security aspects that have hardly been looked at. It is something we must look at very closely and ensure that there are certain guarantees associated in terms of the quality of output. Then I come to the advanced persistent threat. That's another very, very crucial domain. I briefly mentioned it earlier that these are the malware that penetrate a system and sit there peacefully for an extended period of time, waiting for the right time. For all we know, many of our systems have already been infiltrated, and these malwares are sitting there quietly. You won't know that difference in the system behavior because they are not doing anything right now. These threats or these attacks are primarily deployed by the state actors against other states. And this can be exceptionally dangerous because if there is a conflict situation between two countries and the one country enables or ignites the APTs in the other country which it has deployed, it can suddenly crash a lot of systems there. So there are a whole bunch of R&D activities that need to be done here. Foremost of them is even how to recognize that there is an advanced persistent threat sitting in the system. Until we do that, we are sitting ducks. Then another critical issue is supply chain security. Again, we saw examples of that in the Israeli attack. Today, the entire supply chain that exists, any point can be vulnerable, and then that will eventually lead to the compromise of the system. So we need, and in India, we are particularly vulnerable because if you look at the computing supply chain, a lot of it is not in our control. Whether it is hardware, firmware, even the basic software at the systems level, whether it is operating system, or compilers or databases, and even at application level, browsers, email clients, almost nothing is in our control. Everything we download and deploy. So there are a number of potential risks in this entire supply chain. So how do we address these major challenges? We of course need to do better R&D and then develop strong solutions. There is a clear need for this from moving from research to innovation. The research cannot stay limited to publications here because that will not lead to solutions. We have to have, and the innovation has to be in close touch with the users in order to develop the solution, which is deployable, usable. Industries have to play a very crucial role because they are going to be one of the major targets of such attacks. So they have to step up, enable this strong R&D in this space by engaging with academia, co-development of solution, sharing information. That's also very important. A lot of times today, attacks happen. Wherever organizations attack is happening, they just keep putting it on it. Don't share because we will look like a fool. Now the problem with that approach is that these attacks, their approaches, don't get known to the researchers. So how would they even develop solutions to mitigate that? And of course, training is a very important part of it. And another crucial requirement I believe today is to create cyber warfare labs in multiple academic institutions. These labs should focus on solution development by using the in-house R&D in this space. These should look at it, the data should be shared with them, and they should be enabled to develop solutions, test them out, and whenever some useful solution emerges, then get them deployed. Because the academic institutions have something that doesn't exist elsewhere, which is a bright set of young students who are, it is well known across the world that they are the leaders in the cyber domain. The cyber security domain is a young group. That's all. I just summarize my thoughts here, what the challenges are, what we should be doing about this. Thank you for listening patiently.